Now the next topic in section 4 is using the standard SQL interface in PyKX to query our tables. So in the previous section we looked at using QSQL to query our table. Now we can just use standard SQL language to query our table, and to do this all we have to do is say kx.q.sql, and then in the parentheses we put our SQL statement as well as the table that we're going to be querying, which is our Bitcoin table. Now the statement in this case is very simple, but know that you can replace the statement with whatever SQL statement that you want. But all we're doing here is saying select asterisk, which means all of the rows from our table. And we can run this, and we see that it actually just returns every single row and column from our Bitcoin table. So that's how you use the standard SQL interface. In the last topic, we'll be using IPC, or inter-process communication, to connect to an external service to execute queries on that external process. So to do this, we're going to demonstrate spinning up an external process on port 5000 here. And what this code is going to do is create a sub-process that's running on port 5000 that then we can go and create a table on and then query that table. And this is something that you see often in real business use cases. So we've created our sub-process, and we're going to create a connection to that sub-process by saying kx.syncQConnection, specify the port that that sub-process is running on, which we define right here. And now we're going to do two things. We're going to create our table here, and then we're going to do a query upon that table. So what's happening is we have a table being created called tab, and this table is going to consist of 3 columns, column 1, column 2, column 3. And the first column is going to have 100 rows that range in values between symbol A, B, and C. Column 2 is going to have 100 rows of floating point values between 0 and 1. And column 3 will have 100 rows of unique IDs that are generated. And then once that table tab is created, we can query that using SQL. So we can say select from our table where the column 1 is equal to the symbol A. And when we run this, we'll see that very quickly we are able to return all of the rows in our table tab that we just created where column 1 is equal to A. Now let's run a few other queries. Let's run a QSQL query using a select statement, and we're going to run that query upon the table that we just created, and we're going to specify that column 1 should be equal to the symbol A, and column 2 should be less than 0.3. So we're tying in QSQL and a where statement to querying our table that's held on an external process. So here we see all of the column 1 values are A and all the column 2 values are less than 0.3. So the final query we'll run is using standard SQL, where we can say select asterisk, or all the rows from the table where column 2 is equal or greater than 0.5. So if we run that, we can see all the values in column 2 here are indeed above 0.5. So we've just learned how to use IPC to query an external process using QSQL and standard SQL. And of course, to end off, we should kill that external process to save resources. And that concludes section 4. We'll see you in section 5.